Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dungeons & Dragons: The Second Age. This time, Season 7.
Oh shit.
What?
Oh
We
shit.
made
Another
shit.
season? How have we made
Oh,
7 of these things?
Got confirmed for another season, guys.
Yep.
Hey, we
We
got
got picked
picked
up.
up.
Renewed.
How do we keep making these things? How do we have the budget?
I don't know. Do we have
Um,
a budget? I was unaware.
We have a budget.
We have a budget. It's about £3. It pays for the Roll20 subscription.
Yeah. We even have a
Beautiful.
sponsor.
We, got
We
a
do have a
sponsor.
sponsor.
We do have a sponsor.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Jen, for sponsoring us for 7 seasons or thereabouts.
You
Well-
maniac.
I don't know if it's actually been all 7.
No, I don't.
It hasn't been all 7, especially because I've started paying for it over the last couple of weeks, but that's fine.
Oh. We no longer have a sponsor.
we lost our one sponsor.
No.
She did offer, but I picked it up seeing as I've got a job now. So
Oh yeah, you have like a job.
God,
That's
why,
exciting.
why do we all have jobs now? Fuck.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
shit.
Yeah, shit. It's been 2 years and a lot of us have jobs now.
God damn it.
We turned into adults. I don't like it.
yeah,
I didn't ask for any of this.
cool. So does anybody want to quickly recap what happened last time? If not, I have got a brief recap.
Well, it shouldn't be too hard. Right?
No.
Let's see, Emily, where did we start off last time? I think we started off planning, didn't we?
Well, no. We
No,
started
we
off
all
with
lost.
like
Oh no! Yeah.
V coming out of invisibility.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Yeah,
didn't-
last session was all combat all the time
Yep.
Yeah. For like 5 hours. It was a lot.
yeah. I forgot that we started there.
Also, like, my microphone might be picking up some thunder.
Yeah, just a bit.
It
Yeah, slightly.
just now, yeah.
That's fine.
Rumble.
It's fine. Just ignore the raging thunderstorm that's happening outside my house right now.
Yeah.
So, I guess to recap very briefly, the party had arranged to attempt to unmask the fiend known as Ironclaw at his own dinner party. Upon breaking their infiltration, invisibility, and casting Dispel Magic to attempt to remove his magical disguise, the spell failed, and the party were confronted with a bunch of very angry guests. They managed to restrain Kelariis, and then a lot of things happened very quickly. You have managed to convince the room that Kelariis was indeed not who he said he was, and in fact a fiend known as a Rakshasa. At which point you were interrupted by 2 sets of uninvited guests, a second copy of Kelariis, which later turned out to be a shadowy illusion that was conjured by the real Kelariis to attempt to distract attention away from himself, as well as a number of Yuan Ti raiders who attempted to break into the party and somewhat unsuccessfully try to kill some of its inhabitants. You proceeded to chase Arya to his chambers in the seat of power at the heart of Mardan, where he set one final ambush and conjured a group of demons. And as he became weak and attempted to flee, you managed to catch up to him, and with a well-placed attack with the now re-empowered Freedom's Tongue, and a very bad wisdom saving throw on his part, you managed to banish him permanently.
Woohoo!
Rather than sending his essence spiraling back into the infernal plane, you scattered his atoms across, well, I guess the universe,
Multiverse.
across the multiverse. Sure, so that's spoilers to a thing that we never actually made canon.
No, it's fine. You say
Um,
spoilers like we're ever gonna upload that.
no, we're not,
didn't
because
get
it wasn't recorded. But yes, so yeah, you scattered his atoms across the universe with a blast of powerful magic, At which point, essentially the council bustled you out, asked you to keep quiet, and then offered you all a reward for your kind doings, and then asked you very politely to never mention what had actually happened in the chambers, because the idea that a fiend had been controlling all of the chaos within the council in the last few months, abducting people and eating their corpses. That they decided that didn't paint a very good portrayal of the rulership of the city and would cause further unrest as to the existing status quo. You also discovered that those of you who had been attacked by the Rakshasa were subject to a curse, but with less than a minor effort on the part of Vondal, you were able to cure it. And yeah, basically you had spent a couple of days in your hotel room, sort of waiting things out, and you've finally sort of been given the go-ahead to go back into the streets. And I guess that is where we will pick up our story. Oh yes, and an active chance to retcon some things, because I was not clear with what it was that I was saying at the end of last session. Some of you did want to actually take the profit reward rather than turn it down.
It depends on how it's worded, I think, for V.
It definitely is worded as, thank you for killing this fiend, here's some money. Please don't ever mention this because it could cause untold damage.
Okay, yeah, then V would take it.
Yeah, if it's like a thing where they're like, oh, please don't ever talk about this, take this money, Arya would not take it. If it's like, thank you for this money. Oh, please don't tell anybody else. That's fine.
Beep boop.
Yeah, I kind of got the gist of what Luka was saying, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can take the 1,000 gold reward per person if you want to take it.
Are we adding it to our individual gold, or are we adding it to party funds?
I guess that's up to the person.
Well, what did Minnie do last time?
Well, because I was the only one I was told to add it to my own funds, but I think
I'll add mine to the party funds. I think that
It feels better to add it to the party funds.
So yeah, you can go ahead and do that now.
I'll also add what I took. So just add 5,000 to the party funds.
Luka also says party funds.
Oh, I just changed it to okay. So just add 5,000 now.
Yes.
3,000.
Okay, then we have nearly 7,000 gold.
Okay.
Damn, money.
Cash, making it rain.
So it is probably about just before lunchtime on the third day of your. Well, it has been 3 days since you fought Adiakalis, and yeah, it's a warm day, a bit too warm to be sitting inside, even in the magically air-conditioned, I guess, communal area in the Eye of Bahala. What do you guys want to do?
Wow, what next?
Should we check on Leaf?
That seems like a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go and
check
check
on our
on Leaf.
boy.
That would
Check
be
out
Oh, my
boy.
boy.
Okay. Yeah, you head back to the Temple District, to the Temple of Torm. You don't stop very long in the actual temple itself, instead heading back out through the other side to the communal living quarters, where you know that the the other widows and orphans sort of place place where people go to be taken care of when they don't have anything else is. And sure enough, Leaf is there. He is playing with a couple of human children. They all seem to be sort of having a fairly good time. They're sort of chasing each other around and yelling in the way that kids do.
Oh.
I'm
Doing
glad
kid
he's happy.
So I think we kind of did everything that we wanted to do in the city itself, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because we had, I mean, there is the whole thing about like the Forbidden City, but do we want to go in there? I guess the issue kind of is that like if we don't do anything about it, adventurers are going to keep going to the Forbidden City. I mean, I'm not sure if that is an issue at all, but
Well, we've also kind of been beaten to it by the mercs.
no. Do you think they really got that
provided-
far?
Also,
And provided that, well, even then, provided that, well, the staff is secure, then that's not an issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't
People
the
can go in all they want,
bigger
as long as things
danger
can't get out.
also now that like the council has been fixed, it won't be as bad, or like the council can like make some rulings on the matter that aren't well skewed.
Yeah, corrupted. Or whatever word you'd want to use.
Just as a point of clarification from an external perspective, because I'm aware it's been a long number of sessions since you were originally told about this. You do know that the something must have happened to the staff recently to stop it fully sealing the Forbidden City away, because it used to fully seal the Forbidden City away. It literally acts as a seal to keep the city locked
Yeah.
out of time and space.
But didn't Erkalis have something to do with making the city accessible?
No. I believe the suspicion that, or the conclusion that you had come to is that it had fallen into the hands of the Mummy Lord, and that may have had something to do with it.
Right.
I don't think we actually thought about it at all.
typical Second Age way of going about things.
Yep.
Well,
There was a
in that case, the most logical conclusion is that the Mummy Lord had something to do with it, because you remember how magic was suppressed when you stepped into the locus of power within the Mummy Lord's chambers. It is possible that the enchantment that is sealing the city away has been weakened by spending time in the Mummy Lord's treasure hoard.
Yeah, I don't imagine it being good.
No.
Well,
Well, another thing is, and I could be very wrong in remembering this, and I don't even think this is something that most of us know in character, but doesn't it have something to do with the Dread Legion as well? Or was that I could be remembering that very
well,
Sorry, the Dread Legion did have an interest in it. You know that the whoever the Mummy Lord was in life had some sort of connection to the Dread Legion.
Okay.
But yes, the Dread Legion were definitely interested in the Forbidden City and the staff, because there is the Black Ziggurat located within the Forbidden City, which, according to the information that you found on the notes by Zudar, you discovered that the Black Ziggurat was the last known location of the Weeping Hexagram, which is a ancient artifact capable of summoning and binding demons.
yeah. It's definitely but it's definitely something we could look into at some point. But
I feel right now maybe not the best time.
yes,
There is nothing stopping us returning after all.
yeah, that is true. Also, we should probably consider bringing the rod along with us and keep it elsewhere.
The staff, you mean?
Yes, the staff.
For what reason?
It has clearly been compromised.
Has it?
The man that was protecting it was being charmed into delivering it, and I would assume that means that he's not the only one that knows about it anymore.
Not necessarily. Because the person who charmed him was Ikalis, and Ikalis was the one who wanted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was.
But he's now dispersed massively.
Yeah, but like, honestly,
Also, it would have been in Ikalis' best interests for it to not be talked about. So he wouldn't have exactly made him tell anyone.
But I also think that
That
that's
would
a
have been unnecessary.
that's a fair concern to have. Like
well, it's just like when if we just had done what I initially said, checked him for magic, that like when we left it there, we would have been fine. But no, there was no need. It was a trustworthy guy and everything. Nothing could go wrong.
And nothing did in that respect, due to our swift action.
Because, yeah, nothing went wrong because we intervened at the last possible second. If we had taken one day, or day extra to come up with a plan, Arcalis would have had the rod. Also, and if they all think it's still in this city, if we take it out of the city and keep it somewhere else, we'll have to find a place. Then they'll never know where to look for it.
So you want to travel with this item on the open road?
I don't see why not.
And I assume it's not something that we would just display openly that we have.
Well, no, I would. But the problem is we can't keep it in the bag of holding
That is true.
Also,
because it's another dimension. So we'd have to physically carry it with us, which is risky.
Out of character, is this the part where we decide to make a fucking like guild and keep it there? Guys, we should make our own house.
Well,
we should make our own place.
That would be such a good segue.
I will say that there is one place that you know that can securely store powerful magical artifacts that is probably the securest place in the world that you know of, and that's the Vault of the Arcane underneath the
Elven capital.
the Elven
Oh my God, are we
the
going all the way back?
Arcane Academy in the
Well,
Elven
that's
capital.
the capital,
God,
boys.
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, we're probably leaving Mardan soon anyway, so
Yeah, that's true.
we might as well go back to the base.
Besides,
And that is a agreeable option, actually.
Road trip.
Though
Road
we
trip.
do have a cart, don't we?
I mean,
So we could keep it covered in the cart pretty
Yeah.
well.
Or I
Yeah,
could
we're
just get my
strong.
direwolf mount, and then no one would fuck with the direwolf mount carrying it.
We can't do that yet. We haven't leveled up.
I
Luka.
know.
well,
Anyway, perhaps then it is best that we take it elsewhere for storage.
like, I feel like it's also a good idea that we start thinking about rooting ourselves in some way, shape, or form.
It's a very good
So,
way of
like-
saying that. V approves.
'Cause,
Our travels do take us quite all over the place, don't they? It would be nice
Yes,
to
they
have
do.
somewhere to regroup on our own terms. And it's not like we lack for funds now.
We're rolling in it.
yes. The main issue would be deciding the whereabouts of
Such a
Well,
place.
we'll have days worth of travel to decide that.
That is true. Well.
So, as you are making to leave the temple grounds, Raurai motions to... Well, you see Raurai begin to walk towards you guys. And he gestures to Vondal and says, a word, Vondal, if I might.
Of course. I'll sort of gesture to the others to carry on wherever they were going.
Okay.
I'll go with Raurai.
We're probably just...
Well, he just takes you off to one side and stands to one side. He just obviously wanted to have a conversation in private.
Okay.
He sort of he lowers his head and sort of says, I have been thinking a lot about the last couple of days and everything that has happened.
Understandable.
I think I have come to a decision about what it is that I want to do.
Oh, do tell.
I wanted to... At first I wanted to get away from this place. I thought that there was little duty that I could do, that it was left to do here for me, but I can see now that I am not equipped in the way that I thought I was to deal with the dangers. I would like to be better equipped to do that. With your blessing, when you leave this town, I would like to travel with you for a while and make my own way to the Temple of the Golden Lion.
I think Vondal will probably just nod a little bit and just say, and you're sure of this?
Yes.
And then Vondal will probably just sort of clap him on the arm and go, then you'd be more than welcome.
He smiles at that. You know, as a member of the Golden Lion, if you are to take him on, there is technically a ceremony that should be performed to induct him as an acolyte if he is going to join. But you are more than capable of doing that.
Awesome. Then at an opportune moment, I shall do exactly that.
Okay. Yeah, so at the next available moment, you perform the ritual ceremony to induct him as an acolyte.
Plus one party member. I can't believe like everybody is getting like friends.
You know what's going to happen, actually? We're going to end up with an A team and a B team.
Well, Rara is not joining you guys. He is joining the Order of the Golden Lion.
Yeah,
that too.
We're just an escort.
Yeah, he is merely accompanying you as he heads north because he has no idea where he's going because he's never been outside the city walls before.
Yeah.
Well, he has been outside the city walls, but figuratively speaking.
Yeah, he's not been far from the city walls.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, is there anybody else you would like to talk to? Anybody else you would like to see? Anything else you would like to do here in the city?
I think there's at least one, person or group that I would like to stop by.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to make a small donation to the local newspaper or the.
Ah, okay.
Good
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
How are the local newspaper doing?
well, because they did kind of help us out big time.
Yep.
They did.
They did.
Support your local newspapers, kids.
Support your
great
local
journalism.
newspapers.
Or town criers or whatever.
Yeah.
Sound cries or whatever they are.
Hey ye! Support thine local newspaper.
So yeah, they seem to be doing decently well. They are running the same sort of semi-sensationalist stories that is like going on about the alleged the disappearance of Daemaris, and was this man really who he said he was? And everyone is sort of like nonsense, and you guys are like, well,
Well, we did promise not to talk about any of it.
Yeah.
We did.
They didn't though.
yeah.
But
Well-
then again, they also don't know enough.
But they
The-
don't know the full truth. That's
Yeah,
the whole point.
they're just positing theory, but it just happens to be closer to the truth than
Than common theory.
yes.
Yeah.
You suspect that if they continue to dig in the way that they're doing, they may eventually one day come across the truth.
Well, like I don't know if it's the same one that I paid off last time, but I guess I'll walk up to them and be like, well, I guess is it the same? Would it be the same person?
Well, there's only like 4 guys in the whole thing, so yeah, it's the same
okay.
guys.
So I'll just be like, well, I don't know if you remember me from like not too well from a few weeks back.
Yeah, they definitely remember you.
Yeah. But you did us a solid favor back then, and I wanted to make sure that you and your business can keep on doing your thing. So I'll hand them like 10 gold pieces. That seems like a decent amount.
Yeah, that's quite generous. Yeah, they.
I mean, we're fucking loaded.
And I was
so...
like I seem that.
I'll fucking match Greg.
The only thing is, I will just be sure when you dig into stuff that you stay safe. Some news stories can be dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I will match Grim's donation and buy a copy.
Okay.
Wow.
You're gonna buy the copy.
Well, I want to see what they think. I want to see what their theory is.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Vondal is mildly curious.
Yeah, they posit a number of theories, some of which get close, but some of them are significantly less likely. Some of them brand him as a Yuan T sympathizer, which is it's not
correct.
well. No,
Maybe.
he was not in league with them, as far as you knew.
But they showed up at the palace.
Hmm. Well, who knows?
Fuck you, Rob.
Look, in character, it's an acceptable thing to think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So they get they take your gold. They thank you very very much, and sort of when you say to them sort of like be careful, they seem to sort of take it to heart and sort of be like, yeah, well, we'll do our best to stay safe.
Good. And well, keep on doing the good work, and I'll walk off.
Cool.
There is one thing. One last thing that I would like to do.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I still have that. I still have Mammon's mace.
Yes.
I feel like if we're gonna take the staff with us, I feel like this is an acceptable thing to leave behind.
Okay.
Like I think there's adequate protection for that. Because if he'll accept
Okay.
such a dangerous artifact. I forgot his name, but Raurai.
Yeah, Rarai will store it in the vault and make sure it's sealed away.
Yep.
Okay.
We're really
I don't know
good
if
at
you-
names, guys.
Yeah.
Um.
I don't know if any of the other party members notice or care, but
I mean, if you go off and do it in secret, then they might not. But
I wouldn't bother doing it in secret.
well, then they know.
Like I'll just be like, yeah, you never asked if they have questions.
That's because there's no objections, buddy.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I assumed you would want a word after I've used like it's like an archdevil's weapon or artifact. But it's
At least you're getting rid of it.
that's true.
Fucking maniac.
I'm sure
Yeah,
this will
getting
never
expensive.
have any negative repercussions ever.
Oh
God.
no, I'm sure not.
Why on earth would that happen?
Look, I paid my dues. This is fine.
Are you sure?
Look, I believe I have, so
Yeah.
this will be fine.
Anyway.
So, does anybody else have anybody else they want to visit?
We should probably delete the item as well.
I don't know.
This is kind of weird because I don't know how effectively I could do this, but is there any way that I could potentially find Paul again and maybe offer her like I feel weird just saying food, but she did kind of like in bringing the other tiefling that I that I also talked to, like kind of helped us in a way, and I want to repay her a little bit for that.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me also kind of wants to see if I can like at least give her money to see if she could pay her way out of being indentured, but I don't know if that's a feasible thing.
I mean, you can certainly. Well, I'd say what. Give me a history check.
Okay, and like I also don't know how much that is. Like I don't know anything about anything,
Okay.
or maybe I do. I don't know.
So,
Holy shit.
with a natural 20, you think about this for most of the time while you're sort of like sat around indoors trying to lay low for a while, and you know that there are stories of tieflings who were freed from their indentured service, have paid off their debts, etc. And of the ones that you know that have paid off their debts, you know that there's unless they are like the particularly cruel masters, they usually do keep a ledger of debt for the indentured tieflings. You have no idea how much gold that would run to, but you know that because they work every day to sort of pay off their thing to the household, and then obviously end up owing more money to the household because they have to be fed and clothed and etc. It's an endless vicious cycle, so even if you had a debt of a few hundred gold, you'd probably never end up repaying it.
God damn it.
Hey, that's how indentured servitude works.
I know, and it's upsetting. I hate it a lot.
We could hire her.
But
still have to pay off her thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you'd have to find her, find out who her owners are, or the owners of her debt are, and find out how much it's worth, and ask if you could either buy her or buy her debt.
Man.
I know, I really want to take her with us.
I know,
we
but
could
like
totally do that.
Add to the tiefling children.
I mean, here's the thing, right? There is no harm in at the very least going and seeing how much this debt is.
Yeah, but then it's also a matter of like I don't want to accidentally give her a hope and be like,
Oh yeah, good point.
you know, like that's also me thinking like out of character as well, because I'm like I wouldn't want to do that to somebody. I don't think Kelariis would want to do that to somebody. That being said, Kelariis really doesn't like the idea of any of this, and Maul did help, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we could totally do it.
Well,
And I
you
mean, the thing is I also don't know. Like, I don't remember if she ever said that she has family. I think she has family.
she has family, yes.
So it's like it's also a matter of like we could maybe pay off her debt, but then her family's debt isn't paid off, and then it's like, what is she gonna do?
You don't want to Anakin Skywalker it.
Oh yeah. Oh.
But yeah, because like I don't
Hell of a
think
dilemma.
we could manage that. Also, I'd feel really bad being like, all right, here you go, you're free, but like your family's not. but that also means I would assume that she could potentially get work that would help pay. I don't know. That's a whole
Yeah.
mess of thing.
I free you from your indenture or whatever to pay for someone else's indenture. It's like
It's a whole mess.
that's
Yeah.
just moving the problem.
It's almost as if this is a really complex problem which will require a lot of political maneuvering and vast amounts of wealth in order to solve.
Well, not to solve this one problem. To solve the entire indenture situation, yes. What I will say is that you know one other tiefling that you've spoken to who knows a lot about indentured service.
Fuck. Not the old one that Maul brought to speak with me, but the one that works at the place we're staying, right?
Yeah.
Well, you don't really know the guy who works at the place you're staying, but yeah, I was thinking of the other one. I mean, you could ask either.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I also don't know how to find the other person, or like the other tiefling whose name I don't actually know if I ever got his name.
I don't think he did tell you, no.
I don't think
Classic second age.
Yeah,
We
to be
never
fair,
asked
I
for
think he
names.
was also like, I don't want to get involved, but I'll talk to you.
Yeah, he kind of wasn't interested in...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I don't think I pushed for his name because of that. But
Probably.
I also I don't know how to find him without, like, talking to Mull anyway, so... Man.
I mean,
What do we do?
as much as I want to help people, like, saving 1 or 2 tieflings isn't going to solve the whole problem.
Yeah.
And even if we help, like, 1 person, there's still a lot of people that we haven't helped.
I know.
Yeah.
Which isn't a reason not to help that 1 person, but...
I mean, regardless of that whole aspect of the situation, like, I do want to get, like, I guess food that would be able to feed, like, her and her family, and like, try to find her again, to, you know, knowing that she's been to the, yeah, that's great.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no,
Why? Sorry, why did those dice just roll?
He's just rolling random dice, ignore him. He's trying to mess with us.
Or I'm trying to use random number generation to determine how I want this to outcome.
Or that.
Or I just really want to roll my very nice shiny new metal dice.
Both, maybe.
Get yours now.
Store.yogscast.com.
I was gonna say it's the high roller dice, so.
Arya, you came with me originally, right?
Yes.
I would probably ask if you were interested in helping me. Maybe keep an eye out for her or look for her again as well.
Yeah, I'd be down. I still don't know what exactly we're gonna do, but
I kind of want... This is weird, but I kind of want to ask her if...
If...
Part of me wants to ask her if I could... That's weird. I don't know. I really want to help and I want to do this, but like it's also
Ow.
Man, shit's hard.
Yep.
it is hard.
Shit's hard.
It's hard being good.
It's hard wanting to do this and then knowing that like I mean, regardless, I'd have to ask her who the person is that owns like God, I hate saying that, but like keeps like owns or has her debt, whatever, however you'd word that, and like if she'd even tell me to begin with. So
Debtor.
bond, not debt. That just sounds wrong no matter how I say it. But yeah. I mean, regardless, I'd like to try to find her. So
Okay.
I'll have that conversation if I can find her.
Give me an investigation check with, and Arya can help you.
Wow.
Okay,
11.
so 11.
It's a good thing you had help.
Yeah. Look, my investigation's not great, but I can.
So you keep your eyes open around the city, and you do not see any signs of Moll or any of the other tieflings. Well, you do see the signs of tieflings, but none that you recognize. However, you do notice something that you recognize, and that is a crew of tiefling laborers setting up a scaffold in the middle of town. Obviously, there is some sort of construction work or repair work going on in one of the buildings, but you do remember that the tiefling that Moll introduced you to said that he worked with a bunch of other tieflings for a laboring corps.
Huh.
So it is possible that if you speak to them, they will know where to find him.
Yeah, and like I don't want to super interrupt their work, but like if I can maybe find a time when they're not like, it seems like I'd be interrupting the least of what they're doing.
Yeah, you could definitely hang around for an opportune moment to talk to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you as a sort of a more of a brownish red hued tiefling steps away from the group and sort of almost pauses for a moment to just sort of like catch his breath and drink some water. You approach him.
Excuse me, could I potentially ask your help in locating somebody?
He turns to you, looks at you in surprise and says, sure thing, how can I help?
Do you happen to know a younger tiefling by the name of Moll? And do you happen to know where I could find her and speak to her?
He sort of thinks for a moment and so says, I don't know anyone by the name of Moll, I'm sorry.
I don't have the name of the other person. Do you think any of the others you work with might know? I want to give her thanks for something that she helped me with recently.
This girl, what does she look like?
I don't have it, like...
Looks at artwork.
Yeah, but, like, describes that.
How do you describe appearance?
Look, appearance is hard. Words are hard to describe people, but no,
Yes.
like, I describe what...
Yeah, you describe the girl with dark hair, braids, short horns, green eyes.
Yeah.
And you see that there is like a moment of brief recognition in him, and he sort of says, "Ah, yeah, I think I know who you mean. Hangs around with Kuldarax a lot."
Yes?
Older looking guy, bit abrasive.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I don't know where to find her, but if you head back into town that way and carry on for about maybe an hour, you'll get to our lodge. You'll know it. It's got basically a bigger version of what we're putting up here out the front, and a small water tower. If you go there, Kuldarax will probably be there for another 3 hours ish, and then he'll probably know where to find her. If you get there and he's gone already, try the bar in the lower city. I can't remember the name of it off my top of my head. Something Flagon, I can't remember. He works nights.
Thank you, that's very helpful. Sorry for interrupting.
That's quite alright.
Let's go to the... start walking.
Okay.
Go.
So, is this just you and Arya traveling, or are other people coming along as well?
I mean, if other people really wanted to come with us, I probably would have made my intentions clear of I'm gonna go out to try to find the tiefling that I spoke with, and that kind of helped me get in some of the information. So I don't know if
Okay.
other people really wanted to come along.
I think Vondal will probably tag along.
Okay.
I don't think V would, because she hadn't met those tieflings and stuff.
Okay. So it's just 3 of you then.
V and Grim can discuss where Mercenary Guild and Home Base should be.
Yeah.
Because I assume you want to be somewhat near the grove, if possible. But
Well, I think out of character we
kind
discussed it sort of being on the edge of the human lands. Sort of kind of near where we started this whole shenanigan.
Yes.
Yeah, that's on the edge of the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there were some discussions of locations near Ivywood Market. So.
Oh yeah.
That too.
Yeah. So you guys head out, and yeah, you make it to this place. It's fairly easy to find. It does have a large scaffold with a water tower on top out the front of it, where they seem to be mixing something with water that's making a thick, like a white dusty smoke is coming out of this pit in the ground underneath the water tower.
Huh.
None of you are proficient in alchemy, so none of you know what this is.
Great.
Actually, as you come to the front of this lodge, somebody emerges from it that you recognize. And it is a very jovial-looking, dark-skinned fellow, Dagron Mashumti.
God damn it.
Oh shit!
There he is.
He's like,
There he is.
friends,
There's our buddy.
what are you doing here?
Classic.
Could ask the same of you. Looking to find somebody though.
Uh-huh.
Well, several somebodies technically, but
Well, there's quite a lot of somebodies inside. I've just finished up my own business.
did it go well then? I hope.
Yes, managed to shift a good quantity of the stuff.
He's so
Raises an
shifty.
eyebrow at the stuff. That's very vague.
He sort of thumbs over towards the pit.
With the weird smoke rising out of
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
What actually is that?
Well, it's lime, my friends.
Oh. Interesting. That's less dastardly than I thought it was gonna be.
Wow.
It's almost as if he's a merchant and an alchemist, and things like lime would be a useful thing in a large city.
Just a little.
Not everyone you meet is nefarious.
I mean, he's kind of sketchy.
Okay.
Also bought arrows from him several
can make-
times.
You can make anything sound nefarious if you word it in a confusing way.
Also true.
But yeah, he sort of wanders off to one side and sort of gathers up a bunch of I guess he'd have like bags and things, and he slings them on the back of the camel that you recognize, that V managed to persuade to help.
Ah, good times.
He slings the things on the back of the camel. The camel seems a little bit more cooperative, and yeah, he leaves, and you guys go inside. It is the inside is of this sort of building is quite small, and it's quite the distinction between business and communal area sort of blurs over a small, like probably like knee-high wall with a shelf on it. And there seem to be a number of people sat in here relaxing, but also a number of people sat in here doing business. And yeah, it definitely looks like a large number of the people in here are tieflings, with the exception of a couple of humans who seem to be sort of doing the business and administration side of things.
But do we see
Great.
an elderly and abrasive tiefling?
You don't see him immediately, no.
Ah. Shit. Man, oh, okay, well, fuck.
Well, was there well, are we like... Presumably we've gone inside this building.
Yes.
Presumably it was
Yeah.
the outside of the building where all the workers were. Well, where a lot of the workers were.
Some of the workers were outside, but there's a large number of them in here as well.
Right. Oh, man.
There's
Yes.
imagine this sort of like a builder's yard, and there's like 20 tiefling builders sort of bustling about in between inside and outside.
Well, I guess
So,
it's
like-
time to start asking people.
But at least now we know his name.
Yeah. It was
Whatever
how
it
do you spell
Kuldarax.
Holderax? Holderax.
There you go.
Oh. I was kind of close. Yeah, I mean, I guess just start asking if anybody knows where he is.
Sure. The moment you start asking around, the tieflings point you out of a back door into the larger yard, to basically a corner of the yard where a number of sort of sturdy-looking wooden beams are stacked up into a corner. And yeah, you come across Kuldarax, who is sort of in the process of he's got like a number of long beams, and he's sawing a number of long beams to measure.
Well. Yeah, I mean, again, I probably don't want to interrupt if he's in the middle of sawing something, but to catch his attention when he
Yeah, so he finishes the saw stroke, and a portion drops off, and he goes to sort of like pick it up and put it on the stack behind him, and he turns and obviously sees you, and sort of looks a little sort of like wasn't expecting to see you here.
Yeah. Hello, it's been a bit.
It has. Do you make a habit of tracking down everybody you meet?
Not quite. I wanted to very quick, can I quickly retcon something that on the way over here I got something to give to him as well? Because if I knew I was coming to talk to him,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sorry. I just probably was I should have said something about that. I wanted to say thank you to you, and I've also been trying to find Mole to give her my thanks as well for the help that you gave earlier. And I kind of to him I offer some of the, or whatever it is that I managed to get.
You're just getting sort of food and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, if you want to deduct a gold from your thing, I'll say you can get a decent number of quality food to give between the two of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he sort of takes it from you and sort of well, thanks, I guess. So you really went digging around in the old catacombs then?
Yeah, we were... It was a bit more than we thought we were going to find, but nothing that we didn't end up handling, thankfully.
Well, I'm glad you came out of it alive, I guess.
So are we.
He seems to sort of not be sure what to sort of say for a moment, and he sort of says, well, if you're looking for Moll, you're going to have to wait at least a couple more hours. She's probably working at least until sunset.
Well, yeah, we're not particularly in a rush. Could I potentially ask you a somewhat odd question?
Wouldn't be the first time.
Fair enough. I was wondering if you knew a bit, and I know that this might be something that's strange to talk about, but if you know a bit more about how the, I guess, bond system, indentured work system works in the city.
He sort of raises an eyebrow and sort of says, "What do you want to know?"
Because I want to know if there's some way that maybe one day it can be changed. And that if maybe there's something that I could do to make a difference on a small scale, even just to start. But I need to understand it first, if I want to do that in the future.
He sort of folds his arms and sort of says, "Are we talking political change or revolutionary change?"
Political.
Viva la revolution.
I love that I have the two people. We have the lawful good person.
You have the angel and the devil on your shoulder right now.
I just shrug and say, it depends on how it needs to be done.
Well, most folk have a ledger to their name, or family name if you're lucky enough to still have them. Most of your debt's recorded in that, and, well, if you're lucky enough to ever pay it off, then I guess you're a free man. But there's obviously not a lot of use for most people to pay it off, because then you don't have enough money to live on.
Do you know of anybody who's ever managed to do that?
Nope. But look. If I tell you something, you have to promise me you won't laugh about it.
Okay.
So I bust my ass most of the day here. But in the evenings I've been doing some side work. Bartending, bit of heavy lifting, odd jobs to make a bit of money.
Right.
I was planning on buying myself out, you know, like it was one of those grand dreams I had while I was still married. Started to realize these last couple of years how ridiculous it is. But started thinking recently, you know, the girl, she hangs around a lot, she hasn't got a lot of friends, her parents work. I started thinking to myself, maybe I could buy her out. You know, give somebody else a chance, but I'm still a good couple of years off, but
Do you know how much?
for the girl?
Yeah.
Well, she's still quite young, and most of it's still tied to the family name, but if you wanted to buy her out of the family name, it's somewhere in the region of about 500 gold.
Quietly, out of character. Fuck.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh man.
Well, 500 gold is not that much for us. We just took like 5,000 in bribe.
Yeah,
Not
that's,
really bribe.
that's 10% on one person.
Yeah.
That's more than our 300 gold friend.
Also, that's party funds at this point. Like, I can
Oh.
do about 100 and still have like enough money to maybe not like have nothing left. But
Oh, wait, no, actually, hold on, retcon that. I tell a lie.
yeah.
350.
Hey.
Okay.
Because 500 is what Caldrax is.
Okay.
350 is Mols.
I mean, realistically, we could probably do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think anyone would be against using party funds on this.
No. Besides, otherwise you're just gonna need party funds for other things anyway. So
Well-
might as well use the party funds.
Caldrax has like 100 and something gold saved, so.
Oh
But
shit.
he still wants to buy himself out eventually, maybe.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of thinking that like if everybody's like quick sidebar, if everybody's okay with it, I'd like to tell him to keep what he has to maybe work towards maybe
Yeah.
paying like getting himself like getting his own debt paid, and that we can just kind of
We can
I'll
get
give
more.
100 from like my own what I have in my inventory, and then like the rest from party gold. Is that okay with you guys?
I would just say do the entire amount from the party gold, because otherwise it's just gonna be it's gonna be inconvenient later on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to do that like if nobody or if like people have objections to that,
No one
like
has
out
a
of character.
So you
Or in
want to
character.
buy Maul out of her family debt?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then I will give her a little extra so that she can not have like nothing, you know?
Okay.
But I'll take that from like my own money. So yeah, I guess as Caldrax is saying that I guess like Kelariis has like a sad but kind of hopeful smile, which like I hope he doesn't misunderstand.
Okay.
Sorry, Caldrax.
I rolled his insight, but he got 16, so.
Okay, yeah. That's good. Well, I guess then I'll ask you not to laugh in return, but I could... Maybe we can make that happen.
Sort of folds his arms and looks at you conspiratorially.
I'll admit that I was hoping to at least set her in that direction anyway. So knowing that somebody else was hoping for the same thing makes me even more sure in my intention. And it seems like you might know how I can go about doing that.
He nods and sort of says, "You know what, I think I might have a plan."
Do you think she'd be alright with that?
Hard to tell. She's young, she'd bounce. But... Look. I have to go to work tonight, but I have a little time between now and when I start. I could probably clock off a little early and we could go see her parents.
If it wouldn't... Yeah, if it wouldn't be a problem for you, and if I can help with anything, and it wouldn't get you in trouble to see that happen, I'll gladly do it.
I've got some guys who owe me favors, they can cover for me.
Okay.
Alright, let's go.
But you have to promise me one other thing.
I get the feeling I'm not gonna like this.
It's not as... Maybe it's a bigger ask than I think it is, but maybe don't give up on working for yourself. And keep what you have maybe saved. I think it's good to have hope even if it might seem far off.
You're starting to sound even more like my ex-wife.
I still don't know if that's a compliment or not.
That time it was.
Then thank you.
Right, let's get a move on. And so, Caldrax clocks out, takes you out of the yard, and it's It's not until you really get halfway up the street that you realize like how shallow you were actually having to breathe next to that massive cloud. You get the feeling that it is not a healthy workplace.
I can't imagine it is.
And yeah, he leads you up a couple of streets to one of the more upmarket areas of town, where he leads you down a small side alley past a large and very respectable-looking townhouse. And he leads you to a small side staff door, where he leaves 3 short knocks on the door, and okay, the door is answered by a tiefling man who is wearing sort of like a very sort of nice looking waistcoat and trousers, but he's wearing sort of like an apron over the top of it as if he's just come from preparing a meal. And he sort of looks at Kelariis and says, "Oh, Kelariis, is something up?" And then he looks at the rest of you and sort of says, "Who are all these people?" At which point Kelariis is sort of like, "Can we come inside? I have something I want to talk to you about." Sure. Come in, please. And he sort of leads you into a small sort of like side servant's room, where there's like a number of small wooden stools, and he's like, if you just have a seat in here, I'm just gonna go clean up. And yeah, Kelariis sort of grabs the stool, sits down, waits for the rest of you to sit down while this guy disappears.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Okay. He basically under his breath tells you that that guy is Moll's father.
Cool.
Gotcha.
He comes back in, and as he's about to sort of sit down himself, Kelariis says, "You might want to get a lean for this one." And he's sort of like, there's a visible sort of like drop in his face, and he's like, "Is something wrong?" And he's like, "Not exactly, but she's probably going to want to hear this as well." And yeah, he leaves and fetches a tiefling woman who has a striking resemblance to Moll. And yeah, they basically sort of like stand there. He's got a hand on her shoulder, sort of like in a comforting thing, and sort of says, "Well, what is it?" And Kelariis is just sort of like, "Well, I guess you guys had better take it from here."
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, first, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Kelariis Greysurge.
Yeah. Sort of like there's an awkward exchange of shaking hands, and he's like, the man is like, "My name is Daemaris. This is my wife, Helena."
It's a pleasure to meet you, and I was speaking to Kelariis, and I'd met your daughter out, and she's helped me with information a couple of times. Okay. And I was speaking to Kelariis today, and I was wondering how the two of you would feel if I was able to potentially pay off at least her portion of the bond yeah, the bond
the
that we
family
have.
debt.
Yes.
Okay. You weren't aware that tieflings could do this, but the two of them go white.
Oh god.
And they sort of look at each other, look at you, and then Daemaris just sort of says, "Why would you do this?"
Because we got attached to this character in a story that doesn't exist.
Yeah. No.
Voice of Luka.
I know this must seem very strange coming from somebody who's clearly not from here, but to be quite honest, I wish I could do this for everybody in the city, but that's in your situation, but I can't right now. But I'd like to start somewhere, and your daughter helped me and my friends, and like kind of gestures towards the two that are with me.
Yeah.
In something very important that we were doing, and
Oh, that's a thing. I assume you guys aren't wearing armor.
no.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah, 'cause
carrying?
it's-
Are you carrying weapons?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
probably.
just my sword, probably.
Just the sword.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vondal probably has his hammer and shield, but he probably carries his shield in a way that it hides the hammer.
Okay. So you've just got a shield on your back.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know. I might have just the 3 artifacts, but like not my shield, not my armor.
Yeah.
Because people have weapons in the streets. Like it's not like carrying that
Yeah.
would super set me out. Yeah. Then I probably.
I mean,
do that.
You definitely come across as heavily armed if you're carrying like longsword, baton, spear, but that's not unusual because there are a large number of mercenaries in the city anyway.
I would imagine since we're not expecting trouble, Vondal's just wearing whatever would keep him cool.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
doesn't like.
Yeah, weapons but no armor. So yeah.
That.
Okay. So yeah, you say your piece, and they turn to one another, and it's like you're not in the room for a moment, and they have a hushed conversation in a language that none of you understand.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep.
And then sort of Eileen Eileen has been very quiet for this whole sort of thing, and then she sort of looks to you, Kelariis, in surprise, then takes in what you're carrying, and then like goes like even wider-eyed and starts saying something, and give me I guess a perception check. Actually, no. What's your passive perception?
11.
Give me a perception check.
Okay. Oh.
Okay.
fine, Yeah.
Lol.
Rip.
Okay, so you miss that.
Great. Cool.
Yeah, she starts saying something very frantically to Daemaris, and Daemaris sort of looks at you, turns around, calms his wife, and sort of says, "Thank you. I do not know who you are, but that is an offer that I do not think I have ever heard made before."
It's our way of saying thanks.
I do not understand what it is that she could have done that is worth so much.
It's not anything she did in this timeline, buddy.
Okay, no, but like it kind of is because she kind of helped us get information.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, sorry, let me try that again. She's done a lot to help me in my own personal intentions, but also I wish that no one was in a situation like this. And if I can start somewhere then I think I'd really like it to be with. And again, I'm sorry that I don't think I could. I don't think I could offer it to all of you. But I wanted to do something.
I think this is at this point this is the first time you hear Aline speak in common, and she says, I can't believe this. Every night we've prayed for something like this. Chasmal has sent you to us for sure.
Looks at Kelariis.
I guess I don't. Ooh, I was gonna say I guess in a way she has, but I was like, Kelariis wouldn't say it like that. I'm thinking that.
Pull out
Yeah.
the spear, do it. Just be like, yes, bitch, and just pull out the
Then
spear.
I think that
Shut up, Helena.
That was a power move. You gotta do it.
it's a power move, but this
Power
isn't the
move.
power
Now is
move that
not
I'm
the time
looking.
for power.
As the kids say, that's some big dick energy right there.
In a way, I guess maybe that is true, but that is not the way that I'd like you to think of me. I want to help, and I want to see things be better for everybody. In any way that I can.
I think at this point, like, Doris just breaks out in a smile and sort of says,
Aw.
you are the most noble people I think I have ever met. We have never wanted anything more than a better future for our daughter. And for you to come into our house and offer us this... It is incredible.
Making better lives for the common folk is all we want to do. In our own way.
Minnie,
Aw,
no. Minnie typed to us, "You are the most noble people I've ever met." Me, that's because Grim isn't there. Just for context.
Wow.
Perfect.
Oh my god.
Then this is something that you would be alright with.
They sort of they look at each other and they just sort of like, yes, if this is something you're willing to do.
Absolutely.
I do not presume to ask, but when do you plan to do this?
I look at Caldrax like, when can I do this? Like, when can this be done? I don't actually know what the procedure is.
Caldrax shrugs with a face that can only be described as, this looks like a you problem, not a me problem.
Thanks, buddy. I'm glad you're in with...
I mean, to me, it sounds like a Vondal problem, to be honest.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you do have the authority to sort of go around and sort of make statements like that.
I mean, honestly, as soon as it can be legally done, my friends and I will probably be leaving the city soon as well, so...
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
He turns to Aline and sort of says, do you think the mistress will mind if we bother her now? And Aline's just sort of like, well, she is in her dressing room, but I'm sure I could tell her she has guests.
Do we have money with us, guys?
I mean...
Let's just say we brought the bag of holding with us. Because I assume we would I assume if
Well, I assume we were like, hey, we're gonna try and pay this off. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
lot of money.
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
definitely have
actually.
picked up the bag of holding on the way through.
Yeah, okay.
Because I assume we went with the intention that
Yeah.
if we could pay it off, we would pay it off. So we
Yes.
have the money.
Yeah.
and stuff.
Well, there was definitely like a decent period of time in between Calderex leaving work and you guys turning up here, so yeah.
Yeah. So like, at some point we spoke with everybody and we're like, hey, this is a
We're
thing.
gonna do this.
Yeah.
You chill. Yeah. Not like
Gotta
that, but you
chill.
know.
It's like, hey guys, yeah, we need
chill.
like 350-ish gold to pay off somebody else's debt.
Yep. Sounds about right.
That's second age.
Yep.
And second age.
That's second age.
Still not the most ridiculous donation there's been.
So, if you want to do this now, Aline will go upstairs and tell the mistress that she has guests. Daemaris offers to lead you around to the front entrance, and Calderex says, well, if you guys are doing this, I'm gonna bail.
That's fine.
Yeah, and I guess before he goes, I say, just don't. I know it might seem naive for me to say it, but don't give up. And thank you again, really.
I think at this he sort of cracks a smile and sort of says, you know, I think I had you wrong when we first met. I thought you were gonna be nothing but trouble.
Well, I don't know if I would. I don't know if that would.
Okay. I'll reserve judgment for now.
Vondal sort of says, she's not nothing but trouble, but she's still a source of it.
Okay.
Cool.
So you are led around to the front entrance of the house. And Aline opens the door and very quickly disappears out of line of sight as a woman in a is it a sari?
Sarong.
What?
Like the dress that is only on one shoulder.
I think that's a sorry.
Yeah,
I could
I'm
be
not
wrong.
sure.
Whatever.
Yeah, she is wearing a red sari with beautifully ornate flower detailing that runs down from the shoulder to across the chest. And she sort of smiles and says, hello. Forgive me, I wasn't expecting guests.
Oh no, I'm sorry that we didn't call ahead. Call ahead? Send word ahead. That's the
Yeah.
that's what I meant.
We're just gonna ring you up on the telephone.
Yep. Ring ring. Hey, what's up?
Hey,
Um,
technology
if-
doesn't exist yet.
If you're not particularly busy at the moment, forgive me. Where are my manners? My name is Kelariis Greysurge, and these are my companions.
She
I-
extends a hand and sort of offers a polite small curtsy and says, I'm Lady Amin.
It's a pleasure to meet you. But okay. If you have the time right now, I wanted to discuss paying off the bond of one of your workers? I don't yes? Attendants?
Slave.
Workers? I don't like any
Um,
of these. This is yeah.
Yeah, like attendance would be like the
Attendance.
least.
Yeah, I was like, attendants?
She holds up a hand and says, so I am informed. Please, this is not business for the front doorstep. Please come inside.
Oh, yes.
And she leads you into a small drawing room. At which point she produces from a tall shelf a large leather-bound book and places it on the table and says, So I believe you wish to relieve Maul of her indentureship.
Yes, that's correct.
She thumbs through the ledger through a number of pieces of parchment and flips it open to a ledger of costs and detailing. And she sort of says, well, if relieving her of that is your intention, then I believe some of her indenture comes to, and she sort of runs a long finger down the page until she gets to the bottom. And the exact number she gives you is 370 gold.
That works. Then I guess we retrieve 370 gold.
Okay.
I cut out at the worst time because you were just like, comes to, and then my entire
Oh,
page
yeah.
died. Sorry.
370.
Okay.
So you hand over 370 gold.
Yes.
With a practiced hand, she lays a long piece of metal across the frame, across the binding of the book, and tears out probably about 14 or 15 pages, one after the other.
Wow.
And hands them to you. She says, "These are the ledgers and records of Maul's expenses. You may keep them for your own records."
I guess Vondal will take those.
Yeah, I kind of just like looked at Vondal like maybe you should keep these.
Vondal
Yeah.
likes paperwork.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clarence doesn't know what to do with paperwork most of the time.
Vondal just starts like skim reading it.
Yeah.
Oh god.
No.
Yeah. Well,
Why
it's
would you
Not what
say
she
that?
did. She paid off her debts.
yes.
Basically buying a person.
No, it's not. No, that's not what I did.
Well, technically, Kelariis could hold her accountable for her debts and just buy off the debt, but that's not her intention.
yeah,
um,
no, that's
Yeah,
shitty,
I
and
know.
that solves no problems here. That like goes against everything we just tried to do.
But yeah, at this point, Lady Mia sort of says, "So, what is your intention to do with her?"
That's for
Set
her
her
to
free,
decide.
bitch.
I know. Yeah, that is for her to decide on her own.
She sort of smiles politely and sort of says, "Well, I imagine you will be taking her with you then."
We didn't think that far ahead.
Nope.
I will.
That's second
speak to
age.
her and... I know,
Yeah,
we're
that's
really good at this. I will speak to her and something will be sorted out.
Okay.
We will make arrangements with Mol herself. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
And apologies once again for showing up unannounced.
She again smiles politely and says, "It's quite all right. I am somewhat used to members of the public requesting my presence at short notice."
What does that even mean?
Yeah, I know.
Busy woman.
Well, thank you again. And
Then she stands up and Aline goes to sort of like show you the door, but then when you get to the door and she's gone upstairs, she sort of just turns to you and says, "I will fetch more now. What do you intend to do?"
I wish to speak to Maul about it, but if you have any... I mean, honestly, that is between potentially you and her, and I will supply at least something to make sure she can take care of, or things can be taken care of for the moment.
She
I
nods.
don't want to make any decisions for her or anybody.
Okay. So, I think, rather than roleplay the minutiae of this scene, we will take a break, and in that break, whilst I get something to drink, I think you as a party should discuss what it is that you're going to do with Maul.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay.